Just like that, we are live streaming to you via the internet. We could say satellite, but that would be a lie. My name is John Tedora. They call me the Sports Trader. And over here to my that guy right over here to my left, that is Lance Fernandez. They call him the Sports Nerd. And together we do something called the What's on Sports podcast. We bring it to you live every Tuesday and Thursday, where we talk about some of your favorite sports. Before we dive in too deep, hey Lance, how the hell are you?
Hey, John. Oh, hope you're doing well. Yeah. Seems like all NFL teams right now seem to have their own like Thor hammer, like the one at your back, because
Oh.
they are starting to like crunch their payroll already. They have redacted the salary cap for 2021 because of COVID, and sadly, there have been a lot of players that have been affected by the salary cap crunch, and we are starting to feel that effect. So if April is tax season in the United States, March is like teams are like crunching in their taxes for their 2021 season.
Yeah, some big moves definitely happening in the NFL. We're going to talk about a little bit of that, a lot of that, what's going on later on. We're going to talk about how the Jets are suddenly getting called for Sam Darnold. We're also going to talk about some of the top safeties that are available in free agency this year. And then we're going to go into the reasons why your team, your favorite team, should not, and I repeat, should not spend big money in free agency. And it's all backed up by some incredibly interesting data. But before we go any further, I do want to say real quick, guys, if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of sports, if you like what we're doing here, go over to the whatsonsports.com. And today you can join the $2 Sports Club. So what is the $2 Sports Club? It's innovative. It's fun. It's super exciting. You get to go over there right now. And just for $2 a month, you get access to all of our backdoor content, all the insider information. We're talking about information that can help you actually make some money too, because there's gambling information, there's fantasy information, and lots of cool stuff just like that in there, including some really awesome stuff like live seminars with some sports trading gurus, some gambling gurus, and of course my new book is over there as well. Normally the book is like $15, but if you join the $2 Sports Club today, you get to read my new book, Zero Correlation Investing, the Score Metric Secret. It's the tried and true method about how you could be a sports trader today and start taking some of the excess income that you have, some of the money that you've been investing in other places. You can see it's a downturn in the market right now. There's no time better than right now than diversify your investments. Go over to the What's on Sports store today, right now. Sorry, go over to whatsonsports.com today and right now join the $2 Sports Club so you get access to the book. So before we go into anything too much here, I know we have some breaking news that we love to talk about. Breaking news, things that are happening all around the world, all around the country, and Lance loves to bring it out for us. Lance, do you have some quick fire news for us today to start the show?
Okay, so some quick fire news, John. So there has been like a policy or like a proposal among NFL owners wherein instead of having an onside kick for, of course, the kicking team, they can rather give one 4th and 15 situation for that team. So I'm not sure if it has passed the voting already, but it seems like owners are not adept with that rule, wherein instead of an onside kick, the kicking team will be given a 15-yard like opportunity to cover and essentially make a first down. So what will be your take on that, John?
Well, this was discussed last year, and I don't know that it's – so I believe the way the ruling is set up, I believe right now they kick off at the 40. And if you were to take this opportunity, you would go back to the 30-yard line, and correct me if I'm wrong here. You'd go back to the 30-yard line, you would get one play, and it would be basically a 4th and 15. So you have an opportunity to make 15 yards. If you can make the 15 yards, you can continue. I think I'd have to see it in motion. To be honest with you, I'd like to have the opportunity for both. I think it'd be cool to be able to do both. I do like the onside kick. The onside kicks are harder now because they've changed the rules, so it is much harder for teams to actually get an onside kick. I don't know the actual data behind it either, the percentages between getting an onside kick and the percentages of making a 4th and 15. I would assume that making a 4th and 15 would be a little easier, and that's why they want to do it. So I'm all for anything that makes the game more interesting, more fun, and more exciting. This would put an emphasis on defenses. I will say that. A lot of teams right now are leaning strictly on offenses, but you have to be able to have a defense and a pass rush that could stop a team from getting 15 yards. It would also make teams really really keep that one play in their pocket that would make them like, hey, listen, I got to save this 15-yard play because I can use this in place of my onside kick later on in the game in a close game. So it'd be an interesting strategy. I'd love to see it in play, even if it's just for a season or maybe a preseason, so we can see how it would work out.
Yeah, I believe that is an interesting move by the NFL. So you always have that element of surprise with you, which makes the game even more exciting and watchable. So the 4th and 15 situation, if granted, teams will be given a maximum of 2 opportunities to employ a 4th and 15 per game. So it's up to them. It's in their discretion whether they do it in the first quarter or towards the end of the game. So wherever they see it fit, if allowed by the owners, it would be a fantastic way to just keep the mystery within the game, especially when they start to employ it.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, we are accepting all sorts of chats today. So if you guys want to leave a chat, leave a question, we'll be happy to answer your sports question in lieu of not having a phone. You guys can leave your chats whenever you want to. We do have a quick chat out there from Silent Hoops, who's congratulating us on having 100 subs. Hopefully someday this page will be noticed. Listen, I didn't even know we had 100 subs. I don't even pay attention to that, but that's very interesting. 100 people actually like us, Lance. Now with that in mind, there are about 350 million people just in the U.S., so we have a long way to go in order for anyone to know we're here. But hey, Silent Hoops, we do appreciate that. Well, we got some more questions coming in. We'll get to your questions in just a second. Lance, let's go to the next part of our quick fire news real quick.
Okay, so next part of our quick fire news, we go to a sad news, apparently. So you do remember Kellen Winslow the second, So
yeah,
apparently he was just sentenced to 14 years of for sex crimes. So it's another NFL life wasted down the drain because of avoidable circumstances. So it's just a sad note to see one of the he did have some good years in the NFL, like with the Cleveland Browns, and it's just very unfortunate to see him go this way.
Yeah, you see this, and I don't know if you read the details or not, but apparently there's 5 different women that have accused him of different things, and one's even a homeless woman, which is, the whole thing's reprehensible. Men are stronger than women. We should never use that strength to overpower a woman. He's an NFL football player, at least a former NFL football player, which means he's probably stronger than the average man. There's really no reason for it. I hope he gets every one of those 14 years and he serves them all, especially if he's found guilty of all of this, which I guess he has at this point. If he did it, he should go away. Kellen Winslow Jr. has always had a little something wrong with him. There's always been a screw loose inside that guy's head. I remember interviews of him back when he was at the University of Miami thinking, wow, this guy's a little intense. So, look, like I said, I would never condone something like that. I think women should be protected at all means. I know there is a new wave out there of like, oh, we're all equal. But the reality of it is, in my world, and I think in everyone's world, it should remain the same. Women are a weaker species, and we should not take advantage of them with our strength, nor should we ever endorse someone to do that. So 14 years is probably not enough for Kellen Winslow Jr.
Yeah, I do agree that, first things first, he does deserve this kind of punishment. There's no way going around it. The 14 years with 5 different women, I believe that he came out too lightly with the sentence, though. So especially that it was 5 women involved and it's just 14 years. So that's one contention that I have with his case, with his sentence. But still, he should serve this 14 years without any parole, without any reprimand whatsoever, because he does deserve to serve that long, if not longer, for all the transgressions that he did. And it's just unfortunate to see another NFL player, as always, sports figures are being looked up to, and then we see people like this, go down the drain. So it's a sad reality that happens.
Look, when you look at something like this, in my personal opinion, I think that the moment that you do something like this and it's proven that you've done it, and I'm not talking about like so we oftentimes hear these allegations that they're unproven, unfounded, there's no evidence. If there's something way that you can prove this happened, then apparently there are 5 different circumstances here. I think every circumstance should be a 10-year minimum. And I think there should be no parole. There's only one way to stop people, and that's by having the proper type of punishment in place. So as far as I'm concerned, somebody like Kellen Winslow Jr. has done this 5 different times to 5 different women, one of which I mean, not that it makes it. I don't know if it makes it any worse. To me, it seems even worse because she seems like a little more helpless. One's a homeless woman. Well, for goodness sakes, that should be 50 years at least. His life should be over, in my opinion. Now, I know that puts a burden on society financially to keep someone like that put away, but he's obviously a danger to society, and he's a danger to women, and that should be something, in my opinion, that should be taken care of. In my opinion, every woman is somebody's mother, is somebody's sister, is somebody's wife, is somebody's girlfriend, and they should be taken care of in that fashion. And that's how I've always led my life, and that's how I think everyone should. Again, that's my opinion. I'm certain that there'll be some blowback to that along the way, but whatever. Let's go on to the next story. I think this guy's gotten enough publicity.
Yeah, so from somber news, we go to a lighter news, and pretty interesting news at that. So you remember Chris Sims, one of former NFL quarterbacks, won a couple of Super Bowls, and now he's an analyst. So he did have his rankings for draft quarterback prospects for the 2021 NFL draft. And you wouldn't guess who the number one person in his board is. It's apparently Zach Wilson of BYU, who is at the top. Trevor Lawrence, number 2, and Mac Jones is number 3. So just going through the list, Kellen Mond of Texas A&M, number 4. Justin Fields goes at number 5, and Trey Lance, number 6. So what do you think about Chris Sims' projections for the draft?
Well, first of all, Chris Sims is one of my favorite analysts. He really is. Like, that guy talks in such a great common sense format and comes from some experience. He obviously comes from a deep football background. His father is Phil Sims, who is an NFL quarterback and obviously a 2-time Super Bowl winner with the New York Giants. Chris played at, I believe, University of Texas, got drafted by Tampa, played for John Gruden, got a lot of experience in the NFL. Tough guy. Actually got his career ended after he got hit in the spleen, and he actually went back out and played, almost died, and then he couldn't play anymore. But as far as an analyst goes, he's one of my favorites, and I've been looking forward to the fact that he's been talking about how he's going to deep dive into these quarterbacks. Talking about the kid from BYU being the number one guy, though, is quite shocking to me. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be the number one guy with a bullet. I didn't think there was any conversation there. But apparently there is some conversation, which is going to lead to a lot of really interesting things coming up here. If that becomes a consensus, where people honestly think that he is at least on par with Trevor, it's going to be very, very interesting. And the Jets are going to have an interesting decision at pick number 2, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, which will probably segue right into that. So it's really interesting that that's his list. What's most interesting to me is there's 2 things. I'll be really honest. That the number 3 overall pick, or the number 3 overall ranked quarterback, is going to be Mac Jones. And that's incredibly interesting to me, because Mac Jones was a guy that nobody was giving any credit to at all. Like, he was literally a guy where they're like, he's not even a first round talent. Now Sims is coming out and saying he's 3rd overall. I've heard a couple of people say, hey, he's a better prospect than Tua was supposed to be. That's a big thing if that actually becomes true, because it's going to throw that draft board upside down. And the last thing is Trey Lawrence. Trey was like a guy that everyone was saying could be like the second best guy, but wouldn't get that type of draft status because he only got to play 1 game last year. So he played 1 game, didn't play very well, didn't play particularly well in the 1 game he played, and now he's going to fall maybe out of the first round. So this is a guy that would have been a top 10 guy if he came out last year, or would have been a top 10 guy if he got to play all year this year, and is now probably going to fall to the first round and maybe give somebody a real steal of a quarterback. That's interesting.
Yeah. So reading through Chris Sims' analysis, though, so that's why the reason why he put Wilson at number 1 is that the only knock against Zach Wilson is his size. So he couldn't see any negative thing with his mechanics, with his footwork, with his the total scheme for being a quarterback, as compared to Trevor Lawrence, who he thinks has some work to do in terms of throwing the ball and overall mechanics. So that's how he ranked these quarterbacks. So just like you mentioned, he does know his
Wilson's size. What is Wilson's size?
Yeah, let me check that up for you. Yeah.
I didn't know he was on the smaller size. That is really interesting. By the way, if you guys are watching the show right now, don't forget to like, subscribe, become part of the What's on Sports family by going over to whatsonsports.com and joining the $2 Sports Club. Right now, we're talking about Chris Sims's draft analysis of the best quarterbacks in the NCAA, the guys that are coming out, and we're trying to find out what Zach Zach, the kid from BYU's height is, which is a little
Okay,
bit.
so apparently he's still 6'3". So
Okay,
it's all for a quarterback. But apparently Trevor Lawrence is 6'6". So I guess that's where the comparison starts.
well, look, as an athlete, seeing a 6'6" guy like Trevor Lawrence who can move like Trevor Lawrence, like that's what people want in a quarterback. You want a huge guy back there who can see over the offensive line. But let's be realistic about the fact that we've never seen a 6'6" quarterback really do well in the NFL. Everybody wants that big guy. Everybody wants that huge, tall guy who can see over everybody with the long length of the arm. Nothing's going to get batted down. But no, we've never seen a 6'6" guy do really well in the NFL. So it'll be interesting. Before we go over to our next topic, I want to take one of our questions from the audience real quick. And this one is, hey, guys, do you think Fitz might stay another to see what can happen? Or will he retire, change teams? I believe they're talking about Fitz Magic, the quarterback who
Fitz Magic in the air.
Who was with the Miami Dolphins. I believe he's a free agent this year. Listen, I think there's a market for a guy like Fitz. I think somebody out there is going to say, we're going to be dedicated to bringing in a young signal caller. And as soon as they find out that they're going to do that, they're going to bring in a guy like Fitz. They're going to bring in a guy like Alex Smith once he becomes available from Washington. These are guys that can be great mentors that you can bring in that'll actually take your quarterback and bring them to the next level and really show them what it's like to be a pro. Now, the only downside of somebody like Fitz is that Fitz is a gunslinger. And if that mentality is learned by the quarterback that he's training, or the quarterback who's understudying him, it could turn out a bad way. Because Fitz, for all of his glories and all of his excitement, he does do some pretty dumb shit. So I would say that, I mean, let's be honest. So I would say, will he have a job next year? Yes. If he wants one, he'll have a job. Will he retire? Very possible. Will he go back to the Miami Dolphins? I don't think so. I think he's a guy right now who's proven to him that he could be like a bridge starter. You can put him in place and let your rookie quarterback sit, learn, especially if COVID, especially if COVID's an issue again this year, and we're dealing with teams that can't actually get on the field to practice and things like that. I think that could be somewhere where he could actually come into play and be someone who's kind of important.